If you decided to sell your business today, would it be easy to sell? Would you have buyers lining up and competing for it, or would they walk away because it's too risky? Over the years, I've seen many 7 and 8 figure revenue and profit businesses, some attracting bids from all types of buyers, while others are deemed too risky. In this video, I'll be going over the 7 points that makes it easy to sell a business. Changing just one of these areas in your business can have a massive impact on the sellability and the valuation of your business. The first point that makes it easy to sell any business is to make the business independent from the owner. The number one question that business buyers ask is that what happens to this business when the owner walks away? So you need to look at your business to identify how reliant is the business on you. Are you a bottleneck? Are you a central point in your business where everything converges? And if that's the case, that's the number one thing that you need to fix right now. When I'm working with clients, the first thing that we do is do something called the owner vacation test. And that's testing whether the business can survive for an extended period of time and nothing happens except for stability and growth. That's what business buyers are looking for. I've got a quiz in the description that you can take your owner vacation test to see how dependent or independent the business is of you. So go ahead and take that now. What business buyers are looking for is, can the business generate leads and customers without you being in the marketing? Can it generate sales without you being on the sales team or managing the sales team? Can a business fulfill on its products and services to its clients without you being involved? And does the entire business run like a well-oiled machine and generate a profit at the end of it without you being in the picture at all? Buyer looks at your business and say, yes, this is something that can be operated without the business owner. And it's not just that a business can generate leads and sales and fulfill on its products and services without the business owner, but the decisions that are being made on a day-to-day basis, is that being done by you or is that being done by someone else? One of the things that business buyers value more than anything else is management. And that's employed management, which is independent of any ownership structure. If you can demonstrate that you have good structured management in place, which is actually point number 2, having a structured management team in place. If you can demonstrate that, then your business becomes a lot more attractive and it becomes an easy yes for the business buyer, and therefore your business becomes easy to sell. And it's not just demonstrating that the business can operate without you, it's demonstrating and evidencing the fact that the business can operate without you. Business buyers get really uncomfortable and it becomes a big point of contention if there's anything which is attached to the owners. So even if the operations of the business are running completely without the owner, but the owner has the name on the door, that also becomes a problem, and massive question marks are being asked about the business. So if you've built your business around a brand, meaning it's not named after you, then you're already on a winning start. But even if you do have that, start fixing the other things in your business. I call this an operational exit. So that's exiting yourself from the complete running of the business, meaning the operations are independent of you as a business owner. And that moves on to point number 2, having strong management team in place. So the strong management team needs to be around. Now, this also depends on the size of your business. If you've got a business which is doing less than sort of 3 million in revenue, generally speaking, you can have 1 or 2 managers that run the entire business independent of you. And even then, that becomes a bit of a problem, because then you look at something called key man risk. So key man risk, if you look at point number 1, is that can the business operate without the business owner? And that's key man of the business owner. But there's also key man risk with regards to the management of the business as well. If you have one charismatic leader within your business and that leader is really leading the entire business and it pegs around that person, then that also becomes a question mark around the management team. So the more decentralized you can have your management team and the operations of the business, the better it is for the business sell, the easier it becomes to sell the business. So it's not just about operationally exiting as the owner or the owners of the business, but it's also diversifying the operations of the business with a management team, which makes sense. So that's why when you get to mid-market, it's a lot easier to sell a business. If you're in 8 figures in revenue, you go into the, or you have the high 7 figures in revenue and 8 figures in revenue, then mid-market businesses can generally afford to have a good management team in place. And that's why mid-market businesses sell a lot easier. And the reason why it becomes easy to sell your business when you have a good decentralized management team in place is because transitioning from one owner to the other becomes just a checkbox exercise. So it's no longer about, right, transferring all of these responsibilities and all of these things that the owner is doing from the owner to this question mark with regards to the management team. Is that now all of that is already in place. And when it's already in place, all the owner is doing is really just handing over the ownership of the business, not any part of the operations or the reports or the responsibilities around the operations and the revenue generation and profit generation, the value creation of the business. And the only way that can really happen is point number 3, and that's having systems and processes in place which are documented. Right? That's the key here. These systems and processes can't be living in the heads of the management team. It can't be living in the heads of any one person or even the entire business. It has to be documented. Because what happens when one person leaves your business? If you currently have this problem in your business, that when someone leaves, then operations start faltering and problems start happening in the business. And I'm not talking about, for example, if a salesperson left and the sales went down because, of course, you have to find another salesperson. What I mean is that no one knows how to do sales anymore, right? No one knows how to fulfill the service of the product anymore. And then you have to step in. You become the firefighter. This is another area where point number 1 links to systems and processes, that if you have to now step in because the knowledge of the business left with the person leaving, then that is a big problem. And documented systems and processes fixes that problem. That's why business buyers, when you can demonstrate, right, all of the marketing processes are here in this manual, all of the sales processes are here in this manual, all of the service fulfillment processes are here in this manual, then the business becomes an easy yes to buy and it's easy for you to sell. It becomes a lot more valuable. That's why franchises are easy to sell. Why? Because McDonald's, Subway, all of these other big franchises have all of their processes already documented. Yes, they've got brands that are pushing everything behind it, but it's the systems and processes that they're ultimately selling. And that's what you need to do. If you can think of your business like a franchise, then you can sell your systems and processes along with the management and the team that you have in place to a business buyer, and it becomes easy to sell. And those systems and processes also need to be easy to understand and easy to be trained on as well. So if you have a business in which, let's say you've got systems and processes in place, but no one really understands the document and it's too difficult, there's no training plan in place to get to the particular standard that that role needs to be operating at, then that is also a bottleneck area. That is also an area in which you need to develop your systems and processes. So let's say you have a new member of staff who starts in your service delivery department. And how quickly is it to get from someone who doesn't know anything about your service delivery to getting them proficient in delivering the service that your business provides? If you can get a new member of staff up to speed within 2-3 months, maximum 6 months, then that training plan and that process that you have in place is a good process and it's valuable because it can demonstrate that you can get someone off the street, a new recruit, and you can get them in a proficient area or delivering your product and service in a proficient manner. That is true business value. And when you have that, then your business really becomes repeatable and scalable. Because let's say, for example, you put in new marketing and you put in new sales in place, and then the service delivery side of the area can continue to keep up with that demand. And when your service department is at capacity, you can just add more people, you can add more processes in place, and then the business would continue to scale. That is truly something that business buyers are looking for, especially private equity. When you have that kind of business, then private equity is eating that business up. It's buying them left, right, and center because they know that they can use their marketing budget, they can use the money that they have, and they can put it into marketing. They can add a few more salespeople, and those salespeople have the same processes that they're trained up to be able to make sales repeatable, scalable. then that's scaling the sales department, the scaling up the marketing, and the scaling up the product and service delivery. If you can document all of that and have that in place, then your business becomes easy to sell. And that brings us to point number 4. Is the revenue predictable? When private equity can see that a business can bring in predictable revenue, independent of you as an owner, with decentralized employed management, through systems and processes, then they know that that business is predictable and your business can produce predictable revenue. Now, the gold standard of all of that is recurring revenue, right? Recurring revenue is when business revenue is just billed automatically on a monthly or a quarterly basis. That is the best type of revenue. The other one is a reoccurring revenue, and is that products and services are being resold to customers, especially existing customers, but also new customers as well, that they're being sold again and again and again. So that's where they're having your core products and services, and then some upsells and cross sells, or it could just be different products and different service lines that you're bringing in, and they can be predictably sold to the same customer. The second area is that how long are you keeping your existing customers for? So if you've got a one and done type of business that you have to market to a customer and then they come in and the salesperson sells it and it's just a one transaction or maybe two transactions, then that's a good business if you've got a repeatable way of bringing those customers in. But the best businesses are the ones that can be resold to the existing customers. That's why a lot of business B2B services are really good, because you've got marketing services, you've got accounting services, you've got legal services, you've got IT services, all of these different types of service businesses. The business needs to continue to have those in place to be able to operate, right? Now, you don't need accounting services to operate and legal services to operate, but because they form part of the legal obligations of a business, that's why they're valuable. Every business needs marketing if they want to grow. Every business needs IT services if they want to be able to predictably manage the data and store the data and operate, right? So these B2B services are really, really valuable. And why are they valuable? Because the businesses have to continue to buy. Another area about predictable revenue is that, do you have your avatar defined? Then if you have your avatar defined, then can you predictably target the avatar and get more of them into your business? If you can, and you've got a clear USP, you've got a clear messaging to that avatar, then that also makes your revenue predictable. So it's not just about the ability to build, but it's about the ability to find and attract the same type of customer every time. And when you do attract those customers, then you should have a diversified list of customers. One of the other big areas in which you see deals fall apart is that if you have high customer concentration. Customer concentration is when one customer accounts for more than, you have to talk to different M&A advisors. I like to see anything up to 5%, right? 7% is okay as well. But as soon as it gets close to 10%, then what happens if that customer is a large customer, walks away from your business? Now, it's really exciting when you do get that big customer, because of course your revenue just skyrockets because of that one customer. Let's say you acquired a customer and that one customer is the equivalent of 25% of your business. Fantastic, right? Because your business has just grown by 25%. But buyers, what they're looking at is, okay, what happens to that customer if they leave, right? Especially because buyers are really skeptical. Or they're thinking that that large customer came in because of the founder, owner dependence, right? And they're thinking that when the founder leaves, then that large customer is going to leave. And then when that large customer leaves, then 25% of the business has walked out the door with them. So in a nutshell, the more predictable the revenue is, the more predictable that you can acquire customers and get more of that revenue, the more easy it is to sell your business. And that comes into point number 5, is that you have to be able to demonstrate all of that. And the only way that you can demonstrate that your business does have predictable revenue, or that your business has the ability to generate revenue, is to have healthy and clean financials, right? A lot of businesses, they just don't even sell. I'll give you an example. I was looking at some accounts yesterday, right? So I asked the business owner, send me your account so I can take a look at your business. It was a complete mess. And when I say a complete mess, is that, rightly so, while the business owner was owning the business, there were optimizing for tax, right? And if you're optimizing for tax saving, then you're trying to declare almost no profit, right? This business financials was demonstrating that the business was making a loss every single year. Now, that is a huge problem in itself because there's no business buyer that is going to look at your accounts. And if your business is making a loss, let's say, for example, you're putting expenses through the business to get it there. You know, you've got two, three directors, you're putting all of the pensions through and things like that. It might sound like a good idea. Now, pensions is the exception, but I'm going to use this as an example because it's easy to understand. So in the UK, of course, up to £60,000 per year, you can put into your pension before tax, right? And that just comes up as a tax write-off. So that's good. Let's say you've got three directors and you're putting 180,000 through the pension in there. Let's say, for example, that was done in some other area where it's difficult to understand. Now, all of a sudden, business buyers looking at the business, they're like, hold on a second. This business is, not making the money that I think it can make. And if you're not doing it through something clean like a pension, where you can just add back £180,000 and it's very easy to understand, then they're like, where is this money? Right? £200,000 of business profit is just not there. Now, that has a massive impact on your valuation because a lot of business buyers or business sellers, I should say, they don't understand that each pound of profit is multiplied when you're selling your business. So let's take 200,000 as an example. If you're tax managing £200,000, that £200,000, if it's not immediately and a no-brainer add back, and add backs is when you add back a certain cost to the business to bring it back to a normal revenue. But if it's not a clean add back, then you have just lost out anything from 600,000 to a million in business value. It could be more than that, right? So if your business is multiplied by 8 times multiple, then you've just lost out in 1.6 million in business sales price. Just because 200,000 you were tax managing it. And if it's not clean and identifiable in your financials, then that's going to have a huge impact. If you can't understand your business financials, how can you expect a business buyer to understand it? Someone who's looking to pay you a large amount of money to take over your business. If they can't understand your financials, they're simply going to walk away. It's going to be a very easy no instead of being a very easy yes. So getting your financials into place, having a clean way and a clear way to identify profit and EBITDA is of paramount importance. And there's three main areas in the financials that you need to be able to demonstrate in a very clear manner. The number one is your P&L, of course. The number two is your balance sheet. And number three is your cash flow statement. If you can demonstrate all three of these documents in a way that's easy to understand and it's clean and you're optimizing for profit, not tax efficiency, you're optimizing for profit. And ideally, you want to start doing that 3 years in advance. And that's why when I'm working with business owners, it's like a 3 to 5 year journey in the ideal sense. Yes, we do work with business owners who want to sell their business in the next 12 months as well. But ideally, it's a 3 to 5 year journey because if you can demonstrate that over a 3 year period, at the very least, then you're going to be able to multiply, or the business buyer is going to be able to multiply that profit to whatever the multiple is being applied to your business. So then you'll be able to get the value that you deserve, and it becomes an easy yes to sell your business. If your business is doing 5 million in profit and a 6x multiple is being applied to your business, then you can easily sell your business for 30 million pounds. But if you're only showing, for example, 2 million and that same 6x is being applied, now you've only been able to achieve 12 million just because you weren't showing your profit in the right way. That's why healthy and clean financials are very important to ensure that your business is easy to sell. Point number 6 is risk. Now, in any investment, look, you as a business owner, when you are looking at any area of your business, you're trying to identify is that how can I generate this revenue? How can I generate this profit while reducing risk? So there's a few certain areas that business buyers are looking at. Number one is everything that we've spoken about already, especially around owner independence and management team and SLPs and processes and things like that. But what they're also looking at, which I've touched on earlier, is customer concentration as one of the key areas. Key man risk, which we've already spoken about, not just as you as a business owner, but also with regards to the employees in your business. Are there two or three people that if they left the business, then the business falls apart? Because if that's the case, then there is an area of key man risk. Now, there's always the case that you have a few people who are key to the business, but as long as you've got everything that they do written down and you have a clear succession plan in place, then that also mitigates the risk and reduces the amount of risk that you have attached to your business. The other area is not only customer concentration, but also supply concentration or supplier concentration. This especially applies if you're sourcing from overseas. That if, for example, your supplier, who might be in China or they might be in another country, Turkey, or wherever it may be, they stop supplying product to you, then what's going to happen to your business? And that's why, yes, it's good to get in business, for example, suppliers, key suppliers who are on board with you and really supporting your business growth. But in my business, like for example, I have I have too many suppliers at the moment. To be perfectly honest, I need to reduce the number of suppliers that we have. But what we do have, because we've got too many suppliers, is that we're not relying on any one supplier. If one supplier stops supplying us for whatever reason, we can go to other suppliers to get that same stock or to get a product which can easily replace the one that has stopped. And if you can do that, then you don't have supply concentration, you have supply diversity, and your business is seen as less risky. The other key area is contracts, right? So this goes all the way from your customers, your suppliers, your staff members, your subcontractors, that your contracts need to be watertight. And this really goes into sort of legal and compliance, because as long as you've got all of the licenses that you need to operate your business and you've got all of the insurances, the correct insurances that you need to be able to be compliant in your business, just in case something went wrong, then all of this legal side, the contract side of the business needs to be looked at as well. Because as long as you can demonstrate everything's in place, then it's easy and it reduces the risk of your business and it becomes easier to sell your business. Ultimately, with everything that we've spoken about up until now, is that if we can just reduce the amount of potential surprises that a buyer might run into, then that just makes your business a lot more attractive, makes it a lot more valuable, and it becomes easy to sell. And the final thing is growth, right? Point number 7 is growth opportunities. If you have clear avatar in place, you have a clear marketing and sales process and a clear fulfillment delivery process, which is repeatable and scalable, then especially private equity, what they're looking at you as at your business as a growth machine, right? And especially if you can show that over the last 3 to 5 years, your business has been growing, even if it's only small growth. Ideally, you want to have large growth because, of course, that makes your business a lot more attractive and hugely valuable, right? So as long as you can see that, then, or you can demonstrate that, then your business becomes a growth engine. And what private equity is looking at, what a large strategic buyer is looking at, a bigger business that's looking at your business to potentially buy, is that right? When we put our resources into this business, then it may have been growing, for example, 10% per year over the last 3 years. But once we put our resources in it, then we can grow it by 25, 50% per year. Because we've got more resources than you. And when we do utilize our resources, then we can take the business to the next level. That makes your business hugely attractive and very easy to sell. In M&A, there's a saying that either your business is worth X multiple or it's worth nothing. And a lot of the times, other than owner dependence, which is the key area, and again, take the owner vacation test, which is in the description, to see how dependent your business is on you. But if your business isn't growing, then ultimately it's worth almost nothing. Because what a buyer is looking at is that, okay, if this business can demonstrate growth over the last few years, then we can also do the same and we can probably take it to the next level. There's optimism around your business. But if they're looking at your business and the business is declining, the first question they're asking themselves is like, why is this business failing? You may have, like, for example, 25 million in revenue. You may have 5 million, 2.5 million, 8 million in profit. But for example, let's say, for example, your business used to be at 30 million, now it's 25, and it's been steadily declining over the last 3 years. The buyer is looking at this and says, why is this business declining? right? Regardless, let's say, for example, you're coming up to retirement and maybe your energy is going low because, of course, that happens when you get older and you can't put in what you used to put in. They're still asking the question that why is this business shrinking? And there's too many question marks. And that's why your business becomes worth, for example, where it could have been worth 8x multiple, it may be only worth 2.5x multiple. And that's a business which is doing, for example, 5 to 8 million in profit. It's unbelievable. That's how it works in M&A. That's the way it is. So if you work on these 7 areas in your business, then your business becomes something which is an easy to sell business. And that's what we talk about on this channel. So continue watching videos on this channel. If you need any help in selling your business, click the link in the description, take the owner vacation test, or we can have a call directly and we can discuss your business sale. I'll see you in the next video.